Hello, Facebook Live, YouTube, and everybody on our podcast. I'm Josh Oakes. In this episode, we have an expert, and we're going to talk about a pretty important topic. It's called getting your kids a cell phone. How do we keep them safe? What age should they get it? And then what are some tips and techniques that are wholesome and old school to make sure you're keeping them safe in the long run? I have an expert today on the video, and she comes to us live from Jacksonville, Florida. Her name is Stacy Pendarvis. She is the program director at the Monique Burr Foundation for Children, which has its own really great story behind it that is very heartwarming. Hey, Stacy, welcome to the video.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, all right, let's talk about some of your tips here. Kids are getting cell phones younger and younger. Your organization helps to protect kids in the digital safety space. I mean, we kind of work in the same space, which I love. Love meeting more people that are protecting children. You give a couple use cases when your kids should and should not have cell phones. You talk about an 11-year-old that might need it and a 13-year-old that might not. Can you teach us what those use cases are so that parents that are listening in can learn?
Right. Well, the key really to the age, everyone asks, when should I get my kid a cell phone? And really the answer is it depends. It depends on their need and their level of maturity. So for instance, you have an 11-year-old that walks to school or rides their bike to school by themselves. They stay after school for band. They may need a cell phone. You may need to know where they are. They may need to get in touch with you. So in that case, it might be a great idea to get them a cell phone. On the flip side, you might have a 13-year-old that wants a cell phone because all their friends have it, but you drive them to and from school. They're not really in any extracurricular activities. So there's really not a need for it unless you just want to get them a cell phone because it's such a common thing nowadays. So it really, you have to take into consideration the need and the maturity of the kid.
Yeah, that's so true. So maturity and need, and sometimes they don't need it.
Right.
They want it, right?
Yeah,
We've all heard that. Your next thing, it says you need to have frequent one-on-one conversations with your child once they have it. Talk to us about that, please.
So to me, that's the most important thing. Whether you get them a cell phone because they need it or want it, there's no denying kids. Technology is a part of them today. So there's really nothing wrong with getting them a cell phone, but you wouldn't give a kid keys to a car without teaching them how to drive it safely. And sometimes parents, I think, do that. They give their kids a cell phone and they don't stop to teach them how to use it safely and properly. And it can be just as deadly as driving a car if you're not a good driver. So frequent one-on-one conversations. I like to say you need a partner with your child. You need to sit down with them, look at the phone, teach them the different apps and things, the safety tools that they need, the tips that will help keep them safe and help them from doing things they shouldn't be doing online as well.
That's a very good tip. I love that tip that you have about partnering with your teen. That's so important. Then it's not you against them. It's how are we working together? One of the bigger things, Stacy, that we talk to students about is using the cell phone device, which mine is updating to iOS 11. Today is the day when they all update. This becomes more of a purpose than a pastime. That's really one of the things we believe in. When you talk to your kids about future college plans at the age of elementary school, middle school, and you don't just wait until those last couple of years of high school, they start to realize that these devices are all of a sudden very useful in creating a positive digital footprint. That's one of the biggest key takeaways we have. So I love what you've taught us so far. Some 11-year-olds might need it when they for safety. Some 13-year-olds might not. There is a website called waittilleighth.com, waittilleighth.com. You guys can Google it if you're listening to this. And it talks about how people are trying to wait until 8th grade to give their kids a phone. Is that 14 years old?
Yeah, just
about 13 or 14 years old. That's another resource that
14.
everyone can take a look at, waittilleighth.com. Okay, let's talk about a conscious contract or a digital consciousness or a digital safety contract. You suggest that people get one of those. Tell us, A, what's in it, and B, what some of the benefits of it.
Right. Well, it's one thing to have a conversation with your child. It's a whole nother thing to write down what you agree to, what both they agree to and what you as the parent agree to that they will do and how they will use the technology. So in a digital consciousness contract or a digital safety contract, which we have an example on our website, or parents can create their own. But, what technology are they allowed to use? And that even goes, you need to go a step further. What apps, what social networking sites, what websites are they allowed to visit, and what aren't they allowed to do online? And then things like the number of hours, in a day that they can use the phone or the technology, and be very explicit about the expectations for your child. What behaviors do you expect them to do, and what behaviors do you expect them to not do?
Yeah, I like that, explicit and clear and transparent. That's really great. You also say, essentially, I like what you wrote to us. You said, make sure that they know what the prohibited behaviors are, such as posting, viewing, sharing sexually explicit material, harassing or malicious posts, sharing inappropriate personal information. And I'm guessing that we're working on a digital safety contract that gets shared with all of our members all over the country, and that can be downloaded for free. I'm guessing that, and what we're doing is, here's what happens if you do these. It gets removed, it gets taken away. I'm guessing that's a really important part of what you're talking about as well.
Absolutely. Just like with anything, they need to understand what the consequence is going to be if they violate that. But the great thing about sitting down with your child and creating a contract together is you're being very upfront about your expectations, and they are agreeing to those. Because for us, what we do is we have them sign it, and we have the parents sign it, and then we say post it near the computer or on the fridge or somewhere where they see it on a regular basis, that, hey, you agreed to these behaviors, so if you violate them, you know what to expect. You know what's going to happen, whether that be, your phone is taken away, or whatever the consequence would be.
That's very wise. This is kind of nerdy, but I'm actually going to the great length to there's some assumptions that we as adults make. Hey, this device costs a lot of money. And even if parents, those of you that are listening right now, we will do a contract episode here in the future, but let's just give you a teaser first. In our digital safety contract, we're working to say, I, and then the parent inserts their name, or we, the parents insert their name, bought this cell phone for insert price, $650. Oh no, it's left over. It's sitting in our junk drawer. No. What is the replacement value? It will cost you $650 to replace that iPhone 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. We bought it for this price, and this is how much a prorated percentage of the family cell phone plan that it costs to power this with data, right? So you have $150 a month or whatever that is, and $50 of this, it costs this phone $50 a month to be powered. When you put those numbers, and this is just me being a nerd, I have employees, I work with kids all over the world, or all over the country, I should say. We like to be specific about how much it costs this device that they have the privilege to have, and what it'll cost, what they'll have to pay to replace it if they break it, even though they think it's extra and free and grows on trees. These cell phones grow on trees. But also it's $50 a month, $30 a month, whatever that is, and it's included. And we might even include, hey, this is how much data we get as a family. If we exceed that, we pay this much extra. Right? Yeah. And those expectations, I'm actually writing that, data as a family. But those are some of the nerdy things we're putting into our contract is, this parent bought this for $650 so that this student can use it, and here's how much it costs for the cell phone thing. Those are assumptions that we as adults make that students, they don't make, because they didn't have to cut the check.
Right. I think that's a great point. That's another factor to consider when you're deciding, is my child mature enough to have a cell phone? Because they are expensive, and kids notoriously drop their phones and crack the screens or drop them in water. And so that's added expense. Is the child mature enough to take care of the technology? And, do they value it? What is, like you said, there's a value for having that piece of technology. And I think nowadays, a lot of times we just hand our kids technology and we don't teach them that part of it either.
So true. And another part of it, those of you parents that are considering it, consider putting in a part that says, the student will always have a protective case on the phone, because a new a phone case. And parents, I'd go the extra step just to get them the $20 case that's on Amazon. I know we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but the value of the phone shows kids that it's when things don't grow on trees, that it's super, super important to protect the device that you're given, because it does have a purpose. The rest of the cell phone contract can go into the purpose. Okay, let's talk about your next tip. You say implement both scheduled and random checkups, which I love. And you want parents to see what apps they've downloaded and that the students are using, what sites they're visiting, what social media profiles they have created. Talk to us about not only why that's important, but some of your tips on how.
Well, I think the more your child knows you're going to be checking in on them, most kids, when they're asked, say if they know their parents are going to be monitoring what they're doing, they're less likely to do things they shouldn't be doing. So let them know, once a week on Sunday night, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through your phone. But also every once in a while to say, hey, come here, let's have a chat. Let me look at your phone. Let's see what you're doing. Let's see what you're posting. What apps have you downloaded and what are you using? It's really important from the outset to teach them about safe technology use. So, when they download an app, are they reading the terms and conditions? Most adults don't even do that. But there's really important information in those terms and conditions, whether an app, whether a developer has access to your contacts or your photos or things like that. So that's a great thing to do at the outset with your child. And, if you're talking about younger kids and first getting a phone, start by limiting the number of apps and things that they can download. Give them one or two, let them join one social media network, and then monitor that for a while and see how they do. I think kids don't really understand the long-term implications of what they're doing online, that everything they do online can be public and permanent. We love a website, irock2.org. And their mantra is everything you do online is public and permanent. And you can't necessarily delete things once they're out there. And even if you think your settings are private, they're not necessarily things that you're doing online. And so as you talk about, how do you get that dream job? How do you get into that dream college? We've heard cases of, scholarships being rescinded from athletes because once they checked their social media, they found that it's not necessarily someone we want representing our school. So I think it's really important from the outset to teach them those things and then check in with them. And if they know you're going to do it every Sunday night, then they have the opportunity to kind of clean up their phone or their computer. But if you just pop in every once in a while and say, hey, let's have a look at your phone, let's see what you're doing online, kind of minimizes their opportunity. And, I hate to think of it as, we're stalking our kids but really we have to do that as parents because they don't really necessarily understand the ramifications of what they're doing online. So until we know that they do and they're doing it well and doing it safely, it's important for us to be that person.
I couldn't agree with you more. So let me tell a little story about one of the dads that I think I flew to Florida, and I think it was in the Miami area. One of the dads told me, he said, look, I've got a really good relationship with my daughter, which I think is great because usually statistically in our speeches, moms are the digital safety protector of the family. Moms come to my speeches and moms sign up for our parent university to watch videos of their kids. And dads are usually like, yeah, whatever my wife wants, right? It's usually that's statistically, not to paint a picture, but I have credit card data that shows that. So I can say that. But this is what this dad did, and I loved it. Stacey, tell me what you think of this. This dad said, look, I bought it for my daughter. We have a great relationship. I explained to her what can go wrong, and she's my little princess. But around the dinner table, if I see her texting, which is fine, at certain times you're allowed to text, I tell her, I want it now. And we have the understanding that she needs to give me her phone immediately. She doesn't have time to delete stuff. And I look through it, I thumb through it, I can see what she's talking to, and I throw it back to her. And we have this clear agreement. If she's going to use my device that I bought, then I have random audits, boom, and she's okay with it. She gets the privilege of using it, and it's like, cool, great, and he protects her that way. I love that story. A lot of parents are thinking, and in some of my speeches, they go, isn't that an invasion of privacy? What would you say to that, Stacey?
I love it too. I think it's exactly what we as parents need to do. And, it's not an invasion of privacy. Even if I think the bigger thing is, yeah, we're providing the phone, so we have a right to do it. But I try to look at it more as, just as with everything else in raising a child, I'm trying to teach you the right way to do it. And I'm going to check in on you. Do we check our kids' grades at school? Sure we do. So, I'm doing the same thing with technology until I know for sure that you're using it appropriately and safely, and that I don't have to do that anymore. And, that could be 15 for some kids. It could be 20 for other kids. So I think it's just really important that parents are engaged and involved. I think one of the bigger issues that we have with society today is that a lot of us, my age, we're not that tech savvy. So, I've been known to hand my phone to my teenage daughters and say, why is this doing this? How do I fix that? And that puts kids at a clear advantage over parents. I do trainings around the country, and, we have a safety program in schools that covers digital safety as one component. And one of the things that I hear notoriously anywhere I go is, well, I have my kids' passwords. And my response is always, no, you have the passwords that your kids want you to have, because they have Finstas and they have extra Snapchat accounts and they have accounts that you don't even know they're using. So I think if you start young, when you give your child the technology and they know that you're in it to help them and teach them how to do things safely and be smart online, they're more apt to share those things with you. So, just another tip that starting young and being that partner again, and making sure that your kids are not doing things online that are going to impact them negatively down the line.
Boy, Stacey, I adore you. I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir right now, but I'm loving what you're saying. Now, back to something else. Those are the parents that are watching or listening to this. We have discovered that there are certain phrases that kids just do not listen to. They go, okay, whatever. I don't know what the word digital citizenship means. I didn't know a life before digital. Kids are thinking, but they don't say that to you. Right. And I host a conference in LA called the Digital Citizenship Conference. And I despise that word, but I had to name it that way so that educators would go, well, we have to go to this because some big brand made a PowerPoint that sold this to us. And this phrase is what we use as educators. Right. And unfortunately, we now realize that kids just don't understand digital citizenship. So one of the phrases that we love to use is to get on the kids level is, we talk to kids about their future, their college plans. And I know I just mentioned this, but there's that other website you mentioned, which is great. And we're all for as many websites as possible. But the permanent thing, kids don't seem to understand. They're like, big deal. It disappears. It's Snapchat. But one of our behavioral techniques that we find, and I'm just a simple person, I'm not very fancy, but what I have found and listened to and heard from students as we speak all over the country is, if we talk to them about their dream school, no matter what school it is, and they start talking about their dream career and their major they're going to have in college, and they get that plan in their brain and they vocalize it to somebody, all of a sudden the behavior on Snapchat is different. You don't have to say it's permanent. And one of the things that we ask in our speeches is, do you think, we bring a bunch of students down, do you think that a school is going to Google you? Yes. Do you think they're going to find your Instagram? Yes. Great. Okay, what do you want them to find? Great. Oh, and then all of a sudden they start thinking it differently. They connect those two dots. Dream school, not that far away. Holy smokes, I got to behave better. So we don't say the word permanent. We just start connecting their goals and their dreams to what they're doing now. And that's for all the parents that are listening right now. Consider doing that. It is never too young to tour a school. Oh, but you don't understand. The dream school that my kid has is in Texas and we live in Orlando. It doesn't matter. Go tour all the schools within 5 miles of your house, and then 10 miles. And then when you're on a family vacation, go to a local community college, tour that. You have to basically go to all the wrong schools to find the right fit. Get your kids thinking about the future. It will change the way they behave on Snapchat and Instagram. I guarantee it, based on my limited knowledge of that. What do you have to say about that, Stacey?
I love it. I think anytime we can give kids goals and dreams and things to remember that is important to them, it will help them kind of connect those dots. And I love that kind of thinking, that way of thinking. Notoriously, we know teenagers don't listen to parents. why would we have 18 years with them if we could tell them something one time and they would listen to us? So, you know, I think anytime you can deliver the message in a positive way, that they get, and I love what you said, that's right. They don't know any other way other than digital. So for us talking about, well, when I grew up, we didn't have this, and now there's all these dangers online, and online is all they've ever known. So I think delivering the message in a positive way is a great thing. And for parents, letting, others like you and others out there that do have good messages, letting them help you deliver the message to your kids.
Yeah, I love that. And as you're speaking to schools, you probably hear this as well. And I'm a huge history geek, especially World War II history and all this stuff. I love going back, and I love I don't tell people this very often, but my dad grew up in a town so poor, he didn't have electricity when he grew up. And now there was a period of time where he drove a tractor and he didn't have electricity for a short period of time. And now his son is teaching people, digital safety and all these things. It's pretty kind of revolutionary how we, in America have changed over the last several decades.
Right.
But what I see a lot of principals do, and I love their passion and their heart for this, they'll introduce the safety speaker, and this may happen to you, and they'll get up there for 3 minutes in front of the students and go, remember, we're talking about digital safety, and I love that. But they'll go, in my day, this is what we did. We had a picture, and we would take the picture down to CVS or Walgreens, and we would have it developed, and our social media was handing that picture to people. And in my day, and the kids are just rolling their eyes.
Right.
So parents listen to this. That's great, and it's fun for us to talk about that. Pardon me, I just hit my desk on accident. I get so excited, but it's fun for us to talk about in my day, or do you remember back then? But that's something that perhaps you might consider leaving out of the discussion of your kids at this time until they're a little bit older and they can appreciate the change. Because right now they'll just roll their eyes. It's fun for us. So maybe keep those conversations with another adult that can relate. And they're like, you're right, I forgot about that. We used to have little tiny rolls that we'd put in a camera and we'd wind it. Or at weddings, they'd actually have windable cameras on the table, and you'd take pictures of people and you'd turn the camera in at the wedding and they'd have fun. Now we do it on an iPhone. Now it's in a group photo album, but your kids will tend to roll their eyes. I see that a lot. And then it almost does the digital safety speaker a disadvantage. Like, okay, great. Now let's pull the kids out of the eye roll and back into how to talk about their digital safety. So that's just a little tip for parents, educators who might be listening to this. All right. I'm a little bit too excited, Stacy. This is way too much fun. You are amazing. You've got one more tip. Stay in the know. Having a grown-up, how you and I growing up in the online world, kids are growing up in the online world. They're more savvy than their parents, making it difficult for parents to provide necessary guidance and therefore reinforcing a child's online vulnerability. But parents cannot give up, you say. Parents must challenge themselves to become familiar with the complexities of the youth online and educate themselves. What are some tips that parents can use to educate themselves to make sure they're on the edge?
There are tons of resources out there. If parents go online, we have a real world safety course that teaches parents about bullying, cyberbullying, and digital safety for kids. But we're not alone in that space. There's tons of resources. And I think it's just challenging parents to actually learn what their kids are doing. And another great tip is, you talked about when you start talking, my kids love to hear about my first phone was a big bag phone that I had to take and plug into the cigarette lighter in my car. But you're right. They kind of check out at that point because they're like, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about. But instead of lecturing your kids, try asking them questions. What is everybody doing on social media today? What's the new latest and greatest thing? And ask them about technology and how to use it. They're happy to teach you. My kids will sit down and teach me all kinds of new tricks. Whether I remember them or not is a whole nother thing. But, instead of lecturing and always complaining and going at it from a negative standpoint, like I said, again, partner with them and engage them and ask questions, but also go online and look at resources and learn, what your kids are doing online and what those chat acronyms mean that parents have no idea what they mean, and about different things, different apps and things that kids are using now. And the reality is we're at a place, a point in time with technology where we have a lot of cool stuff, but it's only growing, and we're getting more, and we're getting newer technology and things that parents don't even have a clue about yet that's on the horizon. And, as soon as it comes out, their kids are going to have it and use it, and we'll be left behind even more. So I think just challenging yourself to always kind of keep up, follow blogs and things like that talk about this topic is a really important thing for parents to do.
I love it. You said partner with your kids, keep up, have a contract with your kids so they know what is good and bad. I absolutely love that. I love that you're talking about dialoguing with the students. And one more resource for all of you that are listening or watching, wherever you're at these days, we have a free webinar that teaches you the 27 worst apps that your kids should avoid. All over the world, thousands of people have taken this in dozens of countries, and it teaches you the bad apps. We also have the good apps on our website, on our popular app guide. We have 50 apps. We put them in the green zone, the gray zone, and the red zone. Snapchat lives in the gray zone. That's where your kids want to hang out, and it's where you need to be with them. But anything bad, anything less than wise that they post may get them in trouble. The green zone is where Facebook's at. It's not where they want to hang out. Facebook, LinkedIn, and a few other things that can positively impact their online reputation for college. You start in the green zone when they're ready to be mature enough to be online. But the gray zone is where you got to be with them. And the red zone is where the downside fully outweighs the upside. That's where predators are at, bullies are at. Go take that free resource at smartsocial.com. You'll see our webinars. Click on the one on the far left that says the digital safety webinar. You'll learn the 27 bad apps. We go to great lengths to make sure we're updated there. Some of the newest apps out there right now are the Tango app. We're making a new app guide that's 3 minutes long for the TBH. It's called the To Be Honest app, which is really bad. We're getting a lot of requests for that. We're going to shoot that later today and have that on the site here soon. Another one is called the Tinder for Snapchat. It's called the Yellow app, which is really bad. It's the dating app. And then another one is Saraha app. Have you heard of the Saraha app, Stacey?
I have not. See, I'm behind already.
It's not even behind. I'm kind of a geek in this, and our number one thing is to listen. We have a watchdog group that's called Parent University. It's a private Facebook group for those that pay $9 a month, and they ask questions. Hey, my kid mentioned this. What does that mean? And we go do the research. We come back with an app guide. We promote it on the front page, but the parent group gets it first. Parent University. Saraha app is one of the number one apps in the App Store right now, and it's because students are attaching it to their Instagram stories and their Snapchat stories. They'll send out a public story, and then there'll be a swipe up opportunity where people can swipe up to see a website, and their Saraha little username thing is there with a little comment box, and people can leave anonymous comments about what they think about that person, and they can be really hurtful, damaging. And it's not tied to a real identity. So it's one of the things that's in our app guide videos. So you got to be careful there.
And hey, that's what I mean. Parents need to learn that kind of stuff because, just like I said, sometimes we're just behind. We're not the nerds or the geeks checking into all the new stuff. And we've got to do a better job of that.
Well, I think you're doing a great job. I really enjoy talking with you. Keep up the great work. Tell us a little bit about your organization real quick. How it was started, please.
The Monique Burr Foundation for Children was founded in 1997 by Edward Burr. He's a real estate developer in Florida. He and his wife Monique were on their 10th wedding anniversary, actually in California, and their car was struck by a big truck, and Monique was killed instantly. And Monique was a huge child advocate for disadvantaged youth, for abused children, for medically needy children in our community. And so one year on the anniversary of her death, Ed founded the Monique Burr Foundation for Children to continue her work, to continue her legacy. And so that's what we do. We do everything we can to protect children in Monique's name.
I love that. That is such a great story. And we want to help you in any way we can. We're going to put you all over our website and promote you guys. Thank you so much for all that you do to protect children. Those of you that are listening in, you can learn more at smartsocial.com, where we teach the world how to shine online. We want your kids to be safe first, but then we want them to be smart so that they can be on social media, because it is inevitable. And we want you to be the very best parent you can be. You can learn more about Parent University, where we give you videos that you can watch with your kids to make Josh the bad person and you the person that goes, well, I don't think I'd post that because Josh said you're not going to get into college. You can learn more about that at smartsocial.com. We are all of us organizations, we're all fighting to make sure your kids are protected, they're safe, and they get to have fun as teenagers. Your child should still be silly, self-deprecating, and have a good time. And that's why these devices really give them the chance through Snapchat to have fun with their friends. We do want that layer as well. Thank you to all of you for listening. We want to remind you to always, when you're posting, your kids are watching, make sure you keep it light, bright, and polite because they are taking a peek. Stacy, thank you to you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see all of you very soon. Have a great day.